image of me. In one glance you won't see my true identity. And when our eyes meet, judgments are made. Society.
Hi, this is Dayanna with your Celebrity Apprentice recap. We are doing the smell of success this week. Okay, so here's the thing. Mr. Trump decides to have them up to his apartment in order to give out the task. And I'm telling you, the look in Aubrey ODay's face and eyes, oh my gosh, she was just eating up this moment, because you just know she wants to be a Trump so bad. And all I could see in my head was this.
I ain't saying she a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke. I ain't saying she a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke. I ain't saying she a gold digger.
I've really been a mini Trump.
Mr. Trump, hide your sons. That girl's got visions of Trumpness written all over her. All right, so let's get to the task. They had to promote the Trump brand cologne for men's success, and of course they're judged on all the same things that they're always judged on. Presentation, branding, yada yada yada. There's a Macy's executive there, and then there's Mr. Trump's executive. So they go into the two war rooms. Aubrey ODay is the project manager for Team Unanimous, and Aiken is the project manager for Team Forte. An interesting thing happened, though, because Penn Teller is playing this passive-aggressive game where he's decided, since he got his hand smacked in the boardroom a couple weeks ago, he's going to pull back and not really play to the best of his ability to try to dodge a bullet. So he kind of basically volunteers Aiken to be the project manager. Clay does it. They get into their war room, and Penn begins to say, well, here's my idea, boom, 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 boom. And he pretty much could have been the project manager, but, you know, he thinks he's being slick by saying, I'm not the project manager, I'll give my ideas. If they fail, then they can say, well, the project manager said they were okay, so it's his fault, he should go home. So that's the game that Penn is playing. Over in Team Unanimous, there's a whole lot of lip biting going on because Aubrey is running the show, and she just thinks she's so smart and so great and so wonderful, and nobody else's ideas will ever matter. Arsenio is kind of sitting back. He knows not to say anything to her. He gives a few ideas, but anything they say, she shoots down, basically, so what's the point of trying? And she's just so enthralled with herself. I love it when the executives come in and Aubrey tries to educate them on what men should be thinking about their brand. She's so impressed with herself that she wants to try to impress the executives, and they're just sitting there with these looks on their faces like, silly girl. And it's just, you know, I'm so smart. You got to see how smart I am. I'm really smart, okay? You have to see it. So I'm going to keep talking until you see how smart I am, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right? Ugh. All right. So it's Aubrey's show. She's running everything. It's her ideas. All right. So Aubrey's presentation are these buildings, and when George comes in to look at him, he thinks one building looks like the grill of a Rolls Royce. And at one point she asked Eric to come in and takes a picture of him, and she's all, ooh, Eric, what if I was a stalker and I was taking your picture? Eric, run! Run! Okay, so she's just so in love with the I'm going to be a Trump thing. You can see visions of it in her head. And she takes the young Eric and she does a silhouette of him looking up at his buildings and dreaming of his success one day is basically the idea. It's matte grays and blacks on matte grays and blacks. It has some purple lighting behind it, and then they have shelves where the cologne is sitting on the little shelves along the presentation. But their handouts were great, shaped the size of the cologne bottle, stuff written on the back, and then they could smell it. And then their presentation to the actual executives was good. She threw it over to Arsenio during it, and Arsenio ran with it, and then Teresa ran with it, and they did a good presentation, and that sold the executives partly. They couldn't stand the actual 6-foot display, but they liked the takeaway, and they liked the smelly fragrance sticks, and they liked the presentation that they gave orally. So, over on Team Forte, Dayanna Mendoza starts off by saying he's really well known for his ties. And that she's right on. Hits the nail on the head. Now, Dayanna throws out a lot of ideas. Some of them are very harebrained, and some of them are very good. You just have to be able to focus in on her good ones. And if you're not a good project manager, you're not going to be able to go, wait, well, that one was gold. You know, the other 15 were crap, but that one was gold. And that's what a good manager can do. So she says something about the tie. Now, Penn, who didn't know anything about this, suddenly has a vision of the entire thing. He comes up with what he thinks the display should look like, what he thinks the picture should look like, what he thinks the logo should, or the slogan should be. It's Penn's show, basically. And, you know, Clay, when Penn came up with the slogan about you've earned it, you could see on Clay's face he didn't quite like it, and then he said, well, let me play devil's advocate. But everybody went, oh, yeah, you earned it. That's good. Well, what's Clay going to say to 3 people? No, I think that sucks. Well, at some point you have to be able to do that as a project manager. But in this case, you know, you got 3 people going, it's a great idea. And it wasn't a great idea because the executives hated it. They thought it was too pompous. The executives loved the 6-foot display. They thought the picture of Dayanna in the middle was a little too big and that the slogan wasn't prominently shown. But in general, they loved the display. But here's the problem. A, Clay didn't realize that they had to do an oral presentation to the executives. So it was a lot of stumbling and fumbling around when the executives said, no, go on. And they went, what? So that didn't go over so well. And then Dayanna Mendoza had said to Clay, I think we should do a takeaway that they can, you know, pamphlet basically. Now, Clay says that she gave that idea too late in the day and that they couldn't really go for it. But when you get something that you've overlooked clearly, look at any time you've gone to a big display. There's usually a place where the pamphlet sticks in the display and the, you know, the smelly sticks and everything. I think they could have made an effort to do something, but they didn't, and that cost them. So here's the deal. I can't figure out what Lisa Lampanelli did during the whole show. I'm really not clear on this, other than some painting. I'm not sure what Lisa did. Dayanna was the model for the picture, and she took some amazing pictures, and was holding the bottle, took the pictures, great visual. And then Dayanna said, you know, we need to do the takeaways, which they didn't listen to. And then she was like, you know, these things aren't finished. She could see what was wrong with their presentation. But Penn played a very sneaky game, because when they get to the boardroom, Donald says, look, neither one of you did a stellar job. They like this about Clay's team, they like this about Aubrey's team. Nobody did a job that's worthy of the $100,000. Nobody. Which is kind of a good thing, because when Aubrey wins, she doesn't really win. She gets a qualified, okay, you got this, semi-win. The only thing that was good for her, she didn't have to fire somebody. But other than that, it was like, okay, I have to choose a winner, and I don't really want to, but okay, we're going to choose you, but you're not getting the $100,000. And what he did was he gave $40,000 to Aubrey and $10,000 to every other player left, which means 6 players got $10,000 for their charities, except Aubrey got $40,000. So I kind of loved it that Aubrey won, but you know, it was a, what would you call that? On a technicality, you know. It was a, only because we have to name a winner kind of thing and get rid of somebody. So, that made me happy. I'm an evil person, aren't I? Anyhow, so she has to slough off, and Lisa Lampanelli in the boardroom says, Dayanna did a great job this week. I'm really surprised. Well, that didn't help when Clay had to go and choose 2 people to go back, because the executive loved Dayanna in her picture, and Diana's the one that mentioned the takeaway, and nobody did it. So she really technically shouldn't have been brought back to the boardroom. And Clay loses. He brings back Dayanna, and he brings back Penn Jillette. Now, when I first watched it, I said, oh, that was a mistake on Clay's part, because Donald Trump hates it when you bring back somebody that shouldn't be there. You know, he just doesn't like that, and he points it out very frequently. Why'd you bring this person? They didn't do anything wrong. And at no point did anybody say, well, what did Lisa do during this project? But Clay Aiken comes on Twitter and he says, look, it was strategy. I didn't want to bring Lisa Lampanelli into the boardroom, and I knew it was either Penn or I getting fired. If I survived, I didn't want to have to deal with an angry Lisa Lampanelli, so I brought Dayanna Mendoza because I knew she wouldn't get fired because she did a good job and she did point out the things that we should have done. All right, so Penn Jillette says in the boardroom, well, you can't fire the person with the ideas. Where have we heard this before? Lisa Lampanelli and Aubrey ODay. He's learned a few things over these last couple of weeks. So he says, you can't fire the people who come up with the ideas. What Penn did was volunteer Clay to be project manager, then he gave all his ideas and abdicated all responsibility for those ideas, saying the project manager okayed them, so you can't fire the people with ideas. Yes, you can, and it happened, because Penn Jillette went packing tonight from Celebrity Apprentice. In the war room, when Aubrey was watching TV and Lisa Lampanelli comes back in, she goes, why did you say she did a good job? And Lisa said, well, because she did. And she said, you got to stop saying that stuff about Dayanna. You're the reason she keeps staying. And it's funny to listen to these two. Aubrey really thinks she is just really the greatest thing that ever happened to business. And I can't disagree more. She may be creative, she may have creative ideas, but they're not all winners. And her abrasive manner with other people, the executives' looks on their faces when she was trying to educate them was like, I just wanted to slap the girl. The people who have worked with her have bit their lips for weeks on end because they know that they have to in order to keep going in this show. And so to treat people the way Aubrey treats people just shows she's nowhere near ready to run a business. She may be successful in part due to her so-called pop star career and reality television, but she's nowhere near Trump quality businesswoman, just nowhere near. And she can have those visions all she wants, but it ain't happening, Aubrey. She may end up in the finals against Clay Aiken, I don't know. But I think Clay's got this in the bag. Penn was a smart player. He played strategically this week and made a mistake. And he thought that Clay would take the bullet for him, but it didn't happen that way. And I don't know what's going to go on with Dayanna and Clay next week. That looked wild, but we'll see. So more screaming next week. So this week it was Aubrey's turn to be annoying. We'll switch back to Lisa next week. We can only take them in small doses at a time, so they're switching off weeks of who's going to be royally annoying each week. This week it was Aubrey's turn. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
The world has an image of me. In one glance you won't see my true identity. And when our eyes meet, judgments are made. Society dictates how the roles are played. I know